Thank you for joining us for this Local Decision 2016 candidate debate. I'm your moderator, Ben Hale. We have the candidates for Minnesota House District 41A, Democrat Connie Bernardi, Republican Ryan Evanson. Thank you both for being here tonight, and I appreciate you spending some of your time with us.
You bet.
All right, we're going to start tonight with opening statements. After that, we'll go into a question and answer segment. From there, the candidates will have a chance to ask each other a question if they choose. And then we'll finish up tonight with some closing statements. First up is Connie Bernardi with your opening statement.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Connie Bernardi. I'm a wife, a mom, a lifelong member of our community, and I've been a community advocate. My parents came to our community when they were just teenage wed parents, looking for their American dream with little more than hope, courage to pursue their dream. I learned at a young age through them that hard work, a good education, and commitment were key important factors for success in life. Those are the values that I carry with me, and that's why I am so committed to our community and working on strengthening education, expanding the middle class, and creating an economy that works for everyone.
Thank you for your opening statement. Ryan Evanson, you are next up with your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Ryan Evanson, and I'm running for the House seat in District 41A. I'm a lifelong member of the North Metro. My wife and I currently live in Fridley, along with our daughter Annabelle. I've spent my entire career working in the financial services industry, where I've helped families meet their financial goals and solve the problems that they have. After listening to my clients, many of the things that they tell me they're most concerned about is the high cost of living in our state, the rising cost of health care, and access to quality, affordable education. I'm passionate about solving problems, and I'm excited to represent my community in order to help solve the problems that they're most passionate about. I ask for your support in November, and I look forward to our time tonight.
Thank you both. We're going to move in now to a question and answer segment. You'll have 90 seconds to answer the question. After you each have had a chance to answer, then you'll also be offered 15 seconds of rebuttal time. Ryan, you'll be able to go first on our first question. First question is an environmental question. Are there additional environmental protections that you would put into place if you were a state legislator?
Good question. Obviously, our environment is something that's important to all of us. It's what's going to take care of us, until the day that we die. Making sure that we have clean water, make sure that we have nice parks for people to enjoy and play in, something that I obviously support. Making sure that we balance the needs of the community and the needs of the environment is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that's important to our community, and it's something I will make sure to protect as a legislature.
Thank you for your answer. Connie, same question now to you. Are there additional environmental protections that you would put into place as a state legislator?
Well, there definitely are, and one of them that I've been working on is the Toxic Free Kids Act. There are a lot of chemicals in products that come in contact with our children every single day. The corporations are so big that they are like fighting to prevent these toxins from being taken out of these products for kids. And so that is something that I will continue to work on to try to make the environment as safe as possible for our children. And then the other thing is regarding our bees. The neonicotinoids, I can't even remember the word all the time, it's been a while since I've used it, but they kill our bees, and they're found in our plants. And so right now the standard that they've been working on was just to say if they took one suck out of one plant, then it could be labeled as a bee-friendly plant. We can't have that in our state. We need to be transparent that these plants and the chemical that's in them do kill our bees, and we need to make sure that we take those chemicals out.
Thank you for your answer. As I said, after every question, we'll offer rebuttal time. It's just 15 seconds, but it's yours to use. If you so choose, Ryan, you'd have the first opportunity.
Pass.
And did you need any extra time?
No, thank you.
All right. Move on to another question then. Connie, you'll be first on this question, dealing with education. Do you support increased access to pre-K education in Minnesota?
I definitely support access to pre-K education. This is our opportunity to really reduce the achievement gap. Minnesota has one of the biggest achievement gaps in the country, and we need to do all we can to reduce that so that our entire state is successful and that all our children have the opportunity to succeed. As we get our aging population and there's fewer people to support everyone on Social Security, we all have a vested interest in making sure that our youngest learners are ready for school and that they can be on the same projectile when they get into kindergarten, because once they start kindergarten, they need to be at the same playing level as other students, and that takes an early childhood education. And really from birth to, their strategies from birth to pre-K in which young people can get opportunities to be ready for learning.
Thank you for your answer. Ryan, same question to you now. Do you support increased access to pre-K education in Minnesota?
Yeah, this is something I'm probably actually going to agree with somewhat on Connie. I have a young daughter myself, and making sure that she has access to quality education is very important to me, and I know that most people in our community are going to feel the same way. I believe that local communities, local school districts are going to be best equipped in order to determine how they should implement education strategies. I would do what I can to make sure that local districts have the ability to do so, the freedom, and to help them with funding if necessary, so that we can make sure that young learners have the tools that they need to be successful in school and throughout their lives.
Thank you. Opportunity for rebuttal time if anyone chooses it.
No, that's fine.
No, thank you.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. Ryan, this question dealing with public safety. It's clear both nationally and locally that there is high tension between segments of the law enforcement community and minority communities. How will you, as a state legislator, work to create an environment to address these issues?
I think some steps have been made already, which are going to add a level of accountability to our law enforcement. Adding body cameras is a good first step in order to make sure that there's trust that exists between law enforcement and our communities. I think, though, we need to have a higher level of engagement between communities, between law enforcement, so that we can regain trust that has unfortunately been lost in light of recent events. And as a legislator and a member of the community, I think it's important that I play a role in making sure that we're able to bridge that divide. So this is something that's very important to me. It's important to our community. We live in a very diverse community, and rebuilding that trust is something that I want to be a part of.
Thank you for your answer. Connie, same question to you now. It is clear both nationally and locally that tension is high between segments of the law enforcement community and minority communities. How will you, as a state legislator, work to create an environment to address these issues?
Well, thank you for that very important question. To start out with, I just want to say it was an honor when I received from the Voices of Racial Justice an award for my work on racial justice in Minnesota at the legislature. I think one really important part of this, and sometimes it's often overlooked, is that we engage the entire community to come up with solutions, including the people that are being most affected by this. Oftentimes, decision makers aren't reflective of what our community and the people that are being harmed the most by this. And so we need to have opportunities to bring people to the table, have discussions, learn from one another, so that decisions are being made jointly with policymakers and the communities that are most effective. I think that is something that is a very important start in this dialogue.
Thank you. Rebuttal time, does anyone need?
No, thank you.
Okay. Move on to the next question. Representative Bernardi, you'll be first on this question, dealing with taxes. What is one specific change you would like to see made to the Minnesota tax code?
Well, I think the most important part is that Minnesota, we have a progressive tax code in Minnesota. And what that means, sounds like big words, but that people pay based on their ability to pay. And so that we're not taxing people at higher rates that are like in the middle class. And so one of the things that I had uncovered at the legislature was in the different levels of income earners in Minnesota, that the top 10% in Minnesota weren't paying their fair share in relation to the percentage of income that people in the middle class were paying. And so that is something at the legislature that we've looked at, we've tackled, and we're trying to get our system to be more progressive so that it's fair as possible to the middle class.
Thank you for your answer. Ryan, same question to you. What is one specific change you would like to see made to the Minnesota tax code?
I only get one change to the tax code.
You have 90 seconds, so you can do what you want with it.
Well, a couple of things that I would actually want to make. Minnesota is consistently ranked as one of the least friendly states to retire in. If there's one change I'd like to make, it'd be stop taxing Social Security benefits. We're one of only a few states in the nation that continue to tax this. This is the most basic form of income for our retirees, and I think it's something that Minnesota finally, acts the way the rest of the nation is. Stop taxing our seniors on the most basic form of income so that they can have a more comfortable retirement. In addition to that, I'd probably want to reduce the higher rate of business taxes. We are one of the highest states to tax businesses in the nation as well. This makes it more difficult to hire. This is going to make it more difficult to grow jobs. I was talking with a friend of mine recently who's a chiropractor. He had a practice here in Minnesota. He moved down to Florida, and he said, Ryan, one of the things that's keeping me in Florida is the 2% tax on gross revenue for medical professionals. This is something that's keeping him out of the state, which is a job we'd like to have. He hires other people. It makes cost of living more expensive for people who seek medical care as well. So those would be several taxes, I think, that we could very reasonably reduce.
Thank you for your answer. Rebuttal time if you choose to use it.
Well, just a couple other things. I've been working on veteran tax issues. That's an important area to work on, especially veterans that are disabled. And then as well as making the tax code more affordable for people to care for their children and for the elderly.
Thank you. Rebuttal time if you choose.
I'd just like to point out, commonly we hear making the rich pay their fair share. Minnesota already has one of the highest tax brackets for the rich in the nation. And while I agree that we want to protect the middle class, Connie, I'd just like to ask you, what do you think is a fair tax rate, knowing that we're already one of the highest in the state and we're chasing away our tax base?
You can respond if you so choose.
Well, I think the steps that we took recently to balance it so that the people in the upper tax bracket, the top, actually 2% in Minnesota, we're paying closer to the same percentage that the middle class were paying in their incomes. That would be a good example.
All right. Well, let's move on to another topic and another question here. Let's see, Ryan, you'll be starting first on this question. Do you support Sunday liquor sales in Minnesota?
Yeah, this is an issue that I think a lot of Minnesotans support. They want to be able to shop when they want to shop, and many business owners want to conduct business when they want to conduct business. Allowing for liquor sales on a Sunday doesn't obligate businesses to conduct business on Sunday. It simply gives them the option to do that. It gives the consumer more choices. I think it's something that's widely supported in our state, and it's something that I would support as well.
Great, thank you. Connie, same question to you. Do you support Sunday liquor sales?
No, actually I don't. And the reason is because the community in which I represent, around the state, people have different views on this. And in our community, I represent Spring Lake Park, Fridley, and New Brighton. 2 out of 3 of our communities have municipal liquor sales. If you drive by the municipal liquor store on Highway 65, it has on the billboard about how the profits are put back into the community for like firefighters and other things, and it keeps our property taxes down. So our community has some uniqueness in it that is important as we address Sunday liquor sales. And then the other thing is, so I visited a liquor store in New Brighton and asked them, how they felt about it. And he said, I will sell my business and I'll go out of business, because for him, expanding it one more day, he does not believe it's going to bring any more revenue for him, and he believes that people can be planful. And so as a small business owner in a mom and pop shop, it's very important to him. And then the other factor is the big box liquor stores, they want this because they will take and cream out all the mom and pop shops, because they'll be able to be open easier, and there'll be less selection for customers. So sometimes things on the surface seem easy decisions, but when you look deeper for your community, the answer isn't as easy.
Thank you both for your answer. Rebuttal time if you choose to use it.
No, thank you.
Did you need any extra time?
No, thanks.
All right. Next question. Connie Bernardi, you'll be first on this question. Dealing with the overall state budget. Often as a legislator, you're going to get requests for funding. Cities, organizations, Counties, whoever it might be, will be knocking on that door, sending emails, and wanting some sort of funding. And then if they get into the budget, the next biennium, they're not really often going to come back and say, we don't need that money anymore, or you know what, we want less now. So you'll have all these be inundated with all these requests for funding, but also need to produce a balanced budget at the end. How will you prioritize? What gets funding? What is important? How will that work for you as a state legislature? Connie, you are first on this question.
Well, for me, as I mentioned earlier, supporting the middle class and figuring out what's going to open opportunities for people to be successful in life. And one of those things is education. And so that's a very important priority in our community. It's a priority at the Capitol. So things like investments in closing the achievement gap, or investments in early childhood who help close the achievement gap and create opportunities for all of our youngest learners. In one of our districts, they call their students scholars. And they're doing an amazing job in expanding opportunity for students to be able to take advanced placement courses in our community. In fact, we have a number of schools in our district that do that, high schools. And so the reason I share that is there needs to be resources to help make that happen for school districts. So some kids now are able to finish with a 2-year degree when they graduate. Some have a number of credits underneath their belt. And students are able to take the AP test in high school, which hasn't always been available to them. And then other placement tests for college. And those cost money. And if we want to have students be ready, and all students have the opportunity, not just based on the ability to pay, those are investments that are good for Minnesota.
Thank you for your answer. Ryan, same question to you. How will you balance the need/request for funding that you would be inundated with as a legislator versus the money available and balancing a budget?
Right. Well, I do believe that there's a limited role for government, and it's not the job of the government to provide for every individual budget request. I do believe, though, that the state has responsibilities to provide certain services which are essential, such as transportation, making sure we have safe roads. We want to make sure that we have schools that have the ability to educate our children, and we want to make sure that we have well-funded law enforcement. These are things that the government is supposed to do, and which I believe Minnesota has an obligation to provide. What I won't, though, do is support pet projects, especially pet projects which prevent us from funding the things which actually need funding. The light rail, for example, is something that serves a small part of the community, and as a result of the Democrats' decision to prioritize that, the rest of the state of Minnesota was deprived of essential needs. That's not something I'm going to support. I'm not going to support local pet projects, but what I will do is support the broad responsibilities of the state to make sure that those are paid for, that our citizens have what they need, and I'm not going to hold what they need hostage due to pet projects.
Thank you for your answer. Opportunity for rebuttal time?
That's fine.
All right. Did you want any extra time as well?
Yeah, I mean, Connie, I would have a question for you. It's, again, you've said many things which the community needs and I agree with, and yet the bonding bill wasn't passed because the Democrats decided that they wanted to prioritize the light rail, a pet project, which only serves a small portion of the community.
My next question is going to deal with the bonding bill, so let's just move right into that, okay? Is that
Sure.
all right?
Sure.
All right. And Ryan, you'll be first on this question.
Right.
Do you want to see a bonding bill passed in 2017? And if so, how much do you think should be spent?
Right. Obviously, the bonding bill was meant to fund many important functions that the state has an obligation to pay for. Again, we need to make sure that we have roads that have the ability to meet the needs of our communities. We need to make sure that our educational facilities are, well taken care of as well. However, I want to see those essential functions, go unfunded as a result of the pet projects such as the light rail, which the Democrats have decided to prioritize over the rest of the needs of Minnesota. I want to make sure that we only prioritize the things that are absolutely necessary, and I won't prioritize things that deprive Minnesotans of the things they care most about: education, roads, law enforcement.
How much do you think should be spent if a bonding bill was to be passed next session?
I'd have to look at the line item on the exact budget, but it should be something, of course, that isn't going to burden taxpayers and isn't going to burden further generations of taxpayers as well.
Thank you. Connie, do you want to see a bonding bill passed in 2017? And if so, how much should be spent?
Well, this is a very important question and a good question to ask. I think that when we go back to session, we need to have leadership and advocacy to get a bonding bill out within the first 30 days of session. We've gone 2 years without a bonding bill. And we can point fingers and blame one another, but the bottom line is that we need to work together to come up with a package that all parties agree on and that we can move forward with. And we needed to do it in the time that is allotted. And at the end of session, decisions get postponed till the very, very end, and decision makers, 3 people in a room, are then making decisions. And so we need to stop that and make it more transparent and have the entire legislature involved in making those decisions. And I think we need to do it in the first 30 days. We need more than $1 billion bonding bill. This, and what we have to be really careful of, it was a really, really bad precedent what was proposed last year, and that was dumped because they couldn't come up with a transportation package. Millions of dollars were dumped into the bonding bill to pay for transportation. Well, we pay for transportation other ways in the state of Minnesota. That bonding bill is meant for taking care of our colleges and our universities and our infrastructure. It's not meant to take place of the vehicles and how we already pay for our transportation package. And then cherry picking and having legislators pick what they want for projects because they're in leadership, that is not the right direction for Minnesota.
Thank you. Opportunity for rebuttal time if you choose.
I agree that we need to do take this from a bipartisan approach. What I'd say, though, again, is I'm not going to hold hostage the things that our state needs, particularly transportation, education funding for pet projects, which only serve small parts of the community.
Thank you. Opportunity if you so choose for rebuttal time.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Well, the next question is about transportation. So let's just segue right into that. It's kind of been working like that. How would you solve Minnesota's long-term transportation infrastructure needs? Connie, you are first on this question.
Well, first of all, we need long-term sustainable transportation funding. And with that, we also need to transform or reform, whatever word you want to use, our transportation department. It's important that we do 2 at the same time. I don't believe that a blank check and giving money to our Department of Transportation to pour into the current system that they're doing is going to solve our problems. I think we need to do things differently. We need to engage communities more. We need to actually prioritize and follow those priorities. And it's important that we keep actually the tradition of not legislators picking projects that they want built. That would be terrible for Minnesota's transportation system. We'll end up with a transportation system that does not meet the needs of the future. So it's important that as we're looking at sustainable transportation funding, that we're also looking at the goals of our state in transportation and that we're transforming how we do transportation in the future so that it meets all people's needs from the time they're born till they're 101. Because at different points in our life, we're different ages and we have different abilities, and people want their freedom and independence as long as possible, so we need to make sure we have a transportation system that makes that happen.
Thank you for your answer. Ryan, same question to you. How would you solve Minnesota's long-term transportation infrastructure needs?
Right, this is obviously an issue that's extremely important to the state, people within our community. Making sure first and foremost that our roads and bridges are well taken care of, well maintained, so that the current generation can make sure that they have the roads that they need in order to get to where they need to go. That'd be the very first step. However, I'm actually really excited the way the future of transportation looks. I would be interested in funding research that continues to develop self-driving vehicles, ride sharing, things that are actually going to take cars off the road, which will reduce congestion, even though we may have a growing population and people that are going to be living in a more urban environment. So there's a lot of things that the free market are actually already developing that we don't need government funding in order to alleviate some of these congestion issues. What we really need to do as the state is make sure that the existing roads and infrastructure are taken care of. I think that innovation is already happening, which is solving many of our long-term problems.
Thank you. Opportunity for rebuttal time?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next question dealing with healthcare. It's a three-part question, but you still only get 90 seconds, so we'll try and go quick on this one. Ryan, in what ways has MNsure been a success? In what ways has MNsure been a failure? And how would you change MNsure?
Well, for one, there are more people that are insured that were insured in the past. So that's one success that we've had. At the same time, rates are skyrocketing. Insurance providers are dropping out of the market. Right now, we're expecting rates are going to go up by close to 50% for many Minnesotans this coming year. In my opinion, however, the plan that Minnesota and really the nation as a whole has taken in order to fix our healthcare problems, we're spending too much time focusing on healthcare, or I'm sorry, on insurance, not enough time focusing on the cost of healthcare. Insurance is expensive because healthcare is expensive, and as long as we have an expensive healthcare program, we're always going to have high insurance, and it's going to be difficult for people to get insurance. What I would really do as a legislator is focus on reducing the cost of healthcare by increasing price transparency so people can make informed decisions when they can. I mentioned earlier that there's taxes on doctors' gross revenue. That's passed on to the patient as well. So making sure that we have the policy in place that it's easy to perform health care so that the cost of it is much cheaper. Therefore, it'll be easier to insure Minnesotans as well.
Thank you. Representative Bernardi, same question to you now. In what ways has MNsure been a success? In what ways has MNsure been a failure? And in how would you change MNsure?
Well, I would agree with Ryan in the sense that more people are covered in the state of Minnesota. We probably all have stories of people who didn't have coverage before and that have coverage now. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is insurance companies are dropping out of the market and rates are going up. One of the important things I think to think about Minnesota, we have been innovators in healthcare in the country. In fact, some of our models have been followed by throughout the nation. And so we need to be able to get some waivers and be able to look at the innovative spirit of Minnesota and come up with what's going to work for covering people in Minnesota. And we need to have a system in which all people can be covered and that we can reduce our healthcare costs and make Minnesota as healthy as possible.
Thank you. Opportunity for rebuttal time if you choose.
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Next question deals with your district directly. What priorities or goals would you have that would, for things you would want to accomplish that would directly impact your legislative district? Connie, you're first.
Well, our district is amazing. We have great people up in our district with a great work ethic, people who have actually come here from when my parents came here from southern Minnesota, from a rural community, to people from all over the world live in our community. And we have so many assets here and resources and people and their ingenuity and their spirit and their really community mindedness. And so one of the things that we need to do is capitalize on that spirit and support our community with having good jobs up here, good transportation infrastructure here, have incredible schools and education opportunities, which we actually do in our community. We have some of the best schools in the state of Minnesota. And they have challenges because in our community, we have a lot of poverty. And that's something that does make more challenges for school than what they call the silver stocking schools or the Excelsiors or the Wyzetas. And so bringing in resources to support all of our students to be able to have a level playing field and being able to learn and to get ahead and experience opportunities and success in life is really important for our district.
Thank you very much. Same question now to you, Ryan. What goals or priorities would you have that would then directly impact your district?
Right. Again, I'm proud to be a part of the community I live in. I've lived in the North Metro my entire life, and making sure that my neighbors and the community at large are well taken care of is extremely important to me. That's why I'm running for office. My district in particular is a little bit older, though, than the average age in Minnesota. And as I said earlier, one of the things that's most important to me is eliminating the tax on Social Security. As a financial professional, I go through financial plans with my clients. One of the things that we hear is they're just scared that their assets aren't going to last as long as they are. They're worried they're not going to have the ability to take care of themselves in retirement and through their later years. So making sure that we can not tax the most basic form of income, I think that's going to have a profound effect upon our community given the demographics of it. In addition to that, though, making sure that we have good jobs, that we have strong schools, so that future generations can have the same opportunities that the past have.
Thank you. Rebuttal time, anyone?
No, thanks.
Okay, last question from me, and this is a question that we're asking in every single debate and every single interview we do throughout this campaign season this fall. And Ryan, you'll be first with this question. Across America, we are seeing deep divisions between races, ages, religions, socioeconomic classes, and political parties. How will you work to foster a spirit of unity, both in the legislature and in your own community? Ryan, you're first.
Well, obviously, we live in a very diverse community. I'm proud to be a part of our community, and making sure that we're creating opportunities for people to get to know each other, to create parks where people can gather together, where they can get to know each other. I think really having a strong community is going to be the best way to eliminate some of the divides that exist between people. Personally, I find that when people get to know each other better, they find common ground more than they find their differences. And so fostering an environment where people have the opportunity to get to know each other is going to be the best way to create the deepest ties within our community.
Thank you for your answer. Connie, same question to you. Across America, we are seeing deep divisions between races, ages, religions, socioeconomic classes, and political parties. How will you work to foster a spirit of unity, both in the legislature and in your own community?
Well, that's what I love about our community so much. We've had this rich tradition of a sense of community and helping one another and coming together. The tornadoes are a perfect example of that, as we rebuilt our community after that and became strong. And I think we've carried that tradition and that spirit with us. One of the things that I think is important to do is that we actually come together and have listening sessions. And so I've held listening sessions in our community and finding out what are the hopes and dreams of our community, what are the challenges, and those things are important. Another area in which I am involved in is that helps actually our own state legislature, as well as build a foster of cooperation and compromise and those sorts of things. As I'm one of the next generation facilitators. There's about 25 or 30 of us across the nation, and it's through the National Center for Civil Discourse. And there's so much division, and I believe at the state, there's so much division and dysfunction in Congress that I believe at the state level, we have to do all we can to make government work. And Minnesota has had a history of making government work, and I think that we can continue to do that and building relationships with our colleagues from both sides of the aisle. So I'm one of actually 4 people trained in the state of Minnesota. We're from both sides of the aisle, and we get training, we bring it back to our state, and those are just small steps in which my career has been bringing people together, and this is just one more step to help our state.
Thank you. Rebuttal time, anyone?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you in our debate today. But now we're going to give you an opportunity, if you choose, to ask your opponent one question. Connie, you'll have the first opportunity to ask Ryan a question.
Okay, so keeping it in small context here, for those people that don't know about school vouchers are a way in which public money is diverted into, for example, a private religious school. There's not the same accountability and in those schools. And I'm just asking Ryan, does he support school vouchers?
I absolutely support school choice. I think that we've already discussed that there are achievement gaps right now in the state of Minnesota. And I think one of the best ways in order to bridge the achievement gap is to give students and families the opportunity to send their children to places that might better meet their needs. The public school system works very well for some families. There are going to be other students, though, it doesn't meet their needs. Giving every opportunity to students from all walks of life, the opportunity to go to a school that might best meet their needs is something I absolutely support.
You have a chance to respond for 15 seconds if you choose.
No.
Okay. All right, Ryan, now is your opportunity to ask a question of Representative Bernardi.
Connie, I guess I would just continue to ask, how do you think that, you've been part of a party that unfortunately voted in order to make pet projects a priority over the priorities of all Minnesotans, particularly with that bonding bill. You chose the light rail over really the needs of the rest of the state. I'm just curious how you can justify that you have the best interest of the needs of our state and community in mind when you're really part of a party that has chosen to do otherwise.
Okay, it's really about us. It's not about you and pointing fingers. I mean, you can cherry pick something out of a bonding bill and use rhetoric to make it look a certain way. I mean, what hasn't been mentioned is the $300 million of transportation projects that were, and many of those were chosen by legislators on what was going to be built. And they were in the House bonding bill in Republican districts. You know, that's not going to get us anywhere when we're sitting there pointing fingers. We need to sit down, roll up our sleeves, and work together to come out with a bonding bill that is an efficient bonding bill, that's effective, that's the spirit of a bonding bill to maintain our infrastructure and help Minnesota be successful, and not gamesmanship and working to better one's own political community that is maybe in leadership and those sorts of things. We need to have a bonding package that helps the entire state. And frankly, creating a transportation system that uses all modes of transportation throughout Minnesota and throughout our region is going to make us competitive, and we need to have a transportation system that works for everyone.
Thank you. Opportunity to respond if you so choose.
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, then we're going to move on to our closing statements. That'll be our last part of our evening. Representative Bernardi, you are first with your closing statement, and you have 1 minute.
Well, I'm very proud to have grown up in our community and to live here and to have raised our children here. It's so fun to be able to go door knocking and knock on my former classmates' houses, their parents' houses, and just to really be a part of this community. And many of the new comers that are coming into our community as well. It's a great place to live, and I'm so glad my daughter's just moving out for the first time, and she chose to live right here in our community, so that's an exciting time. And the thing that I'm looking forward to this next legislative session is working on 3 main areas that are really important. I think we have to address is education. We need to invest in our youngest learners. We need to reduce student debt for college. Our young people need to be able to start out life and start their families when they want to. And so those are some of the things in which we need to work on, as well as transportation, and then also working to make sure we keep our middle class strong and to expand it.
Thank you for your closing statement. Ryan Evanson, your opportunity now for your closing statement.
Again, my name is Ryan Evanson, and I'm running for the House seat in District 41A. I believe that my experience within the financial services industry has made me keenly aware of the most important concerns to people that live in our district. People are concerned about the high cost of living. They're concerned about their ability to find good jobs, have access to low cost but effective health care, education. I want to continue to build a strong community, and we will be a stronger community if we can do those things well. I look forward to representing District 41A and to be your legislator in St. Paul this coming year. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for taking your time to come in and do a debate with us today, and we really appreciate you doing that. So thank you again.
Good job. Thank you, Ben.
And we want to thank all of you for watching this debate here on North Metro TV. Remember, you can always head to northmetrotv.com for complete local decision coverage. It's all there for you. There's a tab right on the homepage. It has all the races that we're covering this fall. Candidate biographies, as well as more debates like this, are all there, and we'll be following those races right up and through Election Day with live coverage on election night, hours of live coverage, bringing you the only place you can find results for your local races, including deep insight into those races specifically. So make sure to join us on November 8th for that. For the candidates, Representative Connie Bernardi and Ryan Evanson, I want to thank you for watching. I've been your moderator, Ben Hale. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.